Hey, what's going on? It is 12 noon on Friday, which means it's time for this week's episode of State of Real Estate. My name is John Chrisman. The show is brought to you by the Tampa School of Real Estate. We're here every Friday, 12 noon Eastern Time, to help you mastermind to grow your real estate business so that way you can achieve your dream real estate career. That's our mission. That's what we're here to do, to help you achieve your dream real estate career any way it is that we can. And that's part of the reason why we do these live streams every Wednesday, every Friday. If you're not yet subscribed, make sure you hit that bell icon so you get notifications whenever we go live, so you don't miss out on any of the information that we have to give you for free, completely free of charge. Whether you want to subscribe on Facebook, YouTube, you can go put your email in at tampaschool.com/success. What we're talking about today is an extremely important topic that most of the time, it's going to seem obvious when we talk about it, but most of the time when you're a new agent, this isn't at the top of your list. Now, if it's already at the top of your list, great. We'll just reaffirm that today. But we're really going to be talking about the number one most important thing if you want to achieve a successful real estate career. And this thing that you need, you could either get it yourself or you can get it from other people, other places, other businesses. Stay tuned. I'm going to tell you what you need here.
You are watching
State of Real Estate. Every Friday at 12 noon Eastern Time. Grow your real estate business. You're watching State of Real Estate. Hey, welcome back to this week's episode of State of Real Estate. My name is John Chrisman. The show is brought to you by the Tampa School of Real Estate. We're here every Friday, 12 noon Eastern Time. And this show is all about masterminding to help you achieve success. This isn't necessarily stuff you need to study for your real estate exam on today's show, but this is the stuff that you need to study to go make money with your real estate license. So, yes, it's important that you go through the licensing process and you pass your exam and so on and so forth. But now, once you've got your real estate license, now what? What becomes important once you already have your real estate license? You don't have to study for that exam anymore once you pass your exam. You've got your license. Don't need to keep studying that stuff. Yeah, you've got to do post-licensing, but that's an entirely different curriculum, which is going to focus on more real-world topics. So if that is you, if you're new to real estate and you have not taken your post-licensing course yet, you're doing yourself an extreme disservice. Now, post-licensing, it's not like your pre-licensing. The curriculum is independent to the school that you're taking the course with, so it can vary based on where you're taking your post-licensing education, but the post-licensing education, for the most part, is going to focus more on real-world topics, including this topic we're going to talk about today, talking about finding sources of this. So the number one thing, it's not a website. You don't need a website to be successful. Now, legally speaking, you do need a broker to be able to practice real estate, but if you could practice real estate without a broker, you wouldn't necessarily need a broker for this either. But you will need a broker for legal purposes and so on and so forth. But let's say, maybe some other things. Maybe you're thinking about business cards, or maybe you're thinking about your social media strategy, or maybe you're thinking about how you could train on stuff, or who knows what. The number one thing is none of those things. The number one most important thing that you basically have no business without this is customers. Think of any great business that doesn't have customers. Name me one great business that doesn't have customers. You're not going to be able to do it because they're not a great business if they don't have customers. And generally speaking, the more people that a business is able to serve, usually they're maybe better at what they do, or they're maybe able to do stuff more efficiently. There's some reason why they're able to help so many people. And so that's your number one priority. It doesn't matter how much schooling you've taken. It doesn't matter if you have the real estate license or not. It doesn't matter if you have a broker or not. It doesn't matter if you have a website. It doesn't matter if you have a business card. None of this matters if you don't have people to help buy and sell houses. So that is your number one priority always and forever in your real estate business. Because guess what? Your customers go away, you've got no business. Now, the good news is when you make this your number one priority, when you become intentional about, hey, I need to make sure I'm bringing in as many customers as I can. Not just today, but for tomorrow, for the next 5 years, for the next 10 years, that I'm providing such a great experience so my customers don't leave me, so my customers will want to do repeat business with me. That's what you need to be thinking about. Your customers, and this is where the phrase, the customer is always right. We all know that people will be wrong and whatnot, and that phrase isn't always true, but here's why it is kind of true. The customer is always right, because without the customer, you don't have a business. Now, maybe there's other customers, but you get rid of enough of your customers, you've got no business left. Or let's say you reverse back to when you first start out, you might not be thinking about, hey, I need to go find customers. And it's easy to again, overlook this, because a lot of times when you're starting a new career, you're starting a new business, you're getting your real estate license, and you're thinking, I don't want to mess something up. You're going to mess stuff up. Trust me. I've messed stuff up in my real estate career. I haven't met a single real estate professional that has not messed something up in their real estate career. So it will happen, and guess what? It's most likely to happen, and you're going to be most prone to it. It's going to happen the most when you're first starting out. So you will make mistakes, but here's the good news. Most mistakes that you make are fixable, especially if you're partnered with a good broker who could help you fix these mistakes, who could help prevent these mistakes, but ultimately, again, understand that you will still have mistakes. You will still have things to fix and make up for. So that's one of the reasons I think why a lot of agents are almost scared of customers. And look, a lot of the things I share here, and I think that's why I'm so vocal about this and why we're so passionate here at Tampa School Real Estate of providing this information, because when I got my real estate license, I grew up in real estate. I didn't want to be in real estate, but eventually it drew me in. And, we could look at now and say the rest is history, but this overnight success wasn't so overnight. And nobody's is. No, there's no such thing as an overnight success. People just take notice of it overnight. It just doesn't happen overnight. So, yes, the more information that you have, the better you could prepare for success in your business. But this is one of the things that held me back when I got my real estate license. Because when you first get your license, you go pass your state exam, and look, you and I both know you've got to study your butt off to be able to pass that state exam. There's a lot of information that they're going to potentially test you on for the exam, and the catch is you don't know what they're going to be testing you on. And we could narrow stuff down a little bit, but it's still kind of, again, you've got to really kind of develop mastery of not everything, but at least certain topics in your pre-licensing course. But again, here's that catch. You go through all that, and your pre-licensing course will not teach you how to find customers. There's a little bit in the first chapter where we talk about target marketing in a farm area. And look, if we could make this class about getting customers, I'd love to do that. But unfortunately, the Florida Real Estate Commission wouldn't love to do that. The Florida Real Estate Commission requires us to teach you laws and rules for your exam. So remember, that pre-licensing course is all about passing your exam, and that's what you're learning from it. So when you come out of that pre-licensing course and you're now trying to figure out what do you do? Well, what's next? Well, I know a contract's got to be in writing. I know that if I'm going to do an appraisal, I could do the comparative sales approach or the cost approach or the income approach. But it's not a business course. This is a law course. The pre-licensing is a law course. Now, post-licensing, that's more of a business course. That's where you're learning more business topics and, again, how to run your real estate business, and it does count for your renewal requirement. But you're not going to learn in your pre-licensing course, really. Maybe the instructor gives you some tips here and there where they can, where it's relevant. But again, the primary focus is, hey, let's get you passing this exam, because that is actually another truth here. If you don't have a license, it doesn't matter how many customers you have lined up, because you're not licensed to actually serve them. So, really, those are the two things, having an active real estate license, but also having customers. Now, as you go through this licensing process, and I know right now a lot of you guys might be waiting for your exam appointment. The exams are taking a little longer than normal do. Normally we're looking about a month to get an exam appointment, and right now you might be looking at maybe 2 months out, or keep checking for cancellations and availability if you're trying to get your exam sooner. But in addition to the studying you're doing, or let's say maybe you already passed your exam, there is a course, there is a topic in your pre-licensing course, course 1, your pre-licensing. It's right in the first chapter. That's really, again, the only part where it gets a little bit about, okay, you got to have some customers. So that is actually covered in the course, that you need to have customers and a few things for finding them. One of the things that we talk about in there, and this is something that's elaborated much further and much deeper, especially with you developing a strategy behind it, in post-licensing, is called target marketing. Now, you might say, well, John, I'm not ready to go spend any money on advertising yet. Good. That's good. That's the way to start out. You do not want to start out your real estate career dumping money into advertising. When you're starting a brand new business, yes, you need to get customers, and advertising is one way to get customers, but it's not the only way to get customers. So with target marketing, you're trying to figure out, okay, what is your ideal client? And now, rather than thinking of, okay, who do you want to seek out? This is more so for advertising. If you're going to advertise, that's where you define who that person is that you want to seek out. But when you're first starting out, rather than trying to go find that whatever it is that you've described as that perfect customer, rather than trying to find them, pay attention to who's already around you. Who's already around you, who's already in your what they call sphere of influence. So your sphere of influence are the people that already know you. And now that already puts you at an advantage that this person knows you. And now, are all the people that you know going to need real estate services right now? Absolutely not. But at some point in the future, they will. And what's extremely important with your sphere of influence, and this is the best place it is that you want to start out with. A lot of times when people get their real estate license, it's because they see some sort of opportunity. And maybe it's just the grander opportunity that exists by having a career in real estate, or maybe it's a more specific opportunity. Maybe it's a friend or a family member or an acquaintance, a coworker, somebody that you know you could help them. Look, you don't need to have a real estate license to already know a thing or two about real estate. I mean, even if you just watch these HGTV shows, which a lot of times, a lot of the stuff is just reality TV fakeness, but even then, I mean, you could pick up some basic information, whether it's from TV or your own experience, without having a real estate license. And so you might already have some insight to provide to somebody. Maybe you read articles, maybe you've read books. So you might already have insight where people maybe look to you for advice. And if you don't have that yet, that's okay. You could cultivate that with your real estate license. Because with a real estate license, you've basically been certified by the state of Florida to be, well, what they call you actually as a sales associate is minimally competent. So that's why you can't just pass your exam and expect to be a multi-million-dollar real estate producer. Passing your exam is a certification that you know the laws, and that, as the FREC calls it, that you're minimally competent. But again, that's why we do State of Real Estate. That's why we're here every Friday, to help get this information out to you. So again, you know what you need to do now that you've got your real estate license to actually make some money. But back to sphere of influence. So your sphere of influence, again, these are the people that are already around you, friends, family, neighbors, coworkers. And what you want to do is look for the opportunities. And again, when you're first starting out, I really wouldn't worry about this target marketing too much, because you're not ready to advertise yet. And if you think you're ready to advertise, well, have you already sold something? Because if you haven't sold something yet, if you haven't already closed one deal, I would make that a prerequisite before you start advertising. Now, this is just a generalization, and maybe you want to wait longer, but I would try to close at least one deal before you start dumping money into advertising. Now, why do you want to do that? Why do you want to try to close the deal before you go dump money in advertising? Well, let me share with you another personal experience when I got my real estate license. So, didn't have any business, and for me, as extroverted as I may seem as a person, that I could get on here, I could get in front of people and talk, when it comes to one-to-one conversations, especially when it's not about real estate, I'm not the best at that. I'm not the extroverted person. I'm an introverted extrovert, as they like to call it. There's no such thing as introverts and extroverts. We're all a blend of everything. It's just, how we feel that. Whatever. We'll talk. Don't have to talk about that now. So, point being, though, and this happens also when you're brand new to real estate. When you're brand new to real estate, you're almost afraid to talk about real estate because you're wondering, well, does this person know more about real estate than I do? And sometimes that actually is the case. Even no matter how experienced you are, sometimes your client might know more about a particular property than you have. This isn't your biggest purchase of your life, it's their biggest purchase of their life. And so that's why we really got to raise our game to be able to be that resource, so we could take advantage of the opportunities that are already around you. That's the hardest thing, I would say, with your sphere of influence, especially when you're brand new to real estate, is you've got to reintroduce yourself as a professional. And in order to reintroduce yourself as a professional, you have to appear as a professional. You have to sound professional. You have to look professional. They have to think that you know what you're talking about. Because if they think you don't know what you're talking about, they're not going to trust you. But if they already have some trust of you as a person, because again, in your sphere of influence, you already have that connection with them already. Now you just need to shift that to show them that, hey, I went through this crazy course to learn all about real estate. I'm learning more about real estate every single day, and I'd love to help you out in any way it is that I can. And part of this here, so your sphere of influence, and this is something you could do before you even got your real estate license. Now, Technically, you're not allowed to advertise real estate services unless you have an active real estate license. So you can't go out and put out ads without an active real estate license for real estate services. But there's nothing that says that it's illegal to call your friends and family and coworkers or just tell them that, hey, I'm in the process of getting my real estate license. If you have any real estate needs, hey, just hold on for a minute here so I get this knocked out and then I'll be able to help you. That's, again, and I get it. This is so if you're coming to us to get your real estate license, you're probably not fresh out of high school. Now, we've had some people that have came to us fresh out of high school, but I could probably count on maybe two hands the amount of people that have came to us straight out of high school to get a real estate license. And for whatever reason it may be, again, we could spend all day talking about it and theorizing about it, but a lot of times when you go to real estate, this isn't your first job. You might even have a first job in high school before you even graduated, so you can't even get a real estate license until then. So whatever the case may be, real estate is usually not your first job. It's usually not your first profession. It wasn't my first profession. And a lot of times we end up switching from what we're doing, and really we're maybe thinking about real estate. When I got my real estate license, it was something that I said I wanted to do for probably 2 or 3 years before I went and finally got my real estate license. And the reason why is, it's a vulnerable state to be in to say that, hey, I need to try to do something else. What I'm doing right now isn't meeting my needs. It's maybe a great job for other people, but maybe it's not a good fit for you. Maybe what you're doing right now, it's not paying the bills, you're not happy doing it, it's whatever reason it may be that you're thinking about real estate. I get it, because I was in that same position as you were. And then you're starting this new thing where there's a lot of unknowns and you're wondering about this and that and the other and so on and so forth. And I've been an entrepreneur basically my whole life. Literally since I was like this big. I was out there, we had a little riding lawnmower, I had to stick weights on it, and I'd go around, I'd mow all the lawns down the block in the neighborhood, all kinds of little odd little businesses that I started throughout, even since I was just like 10 years old or something like that. So what I found in real estate that's different than any other industry that I've been a part of or looked at is the support system. The support system in real estate is so significant. And the whole way real estate is designed, this whole brokerage concept with the MLS where we cooperate on listings, real estate is designed for cooperation. And we've got brokers, we've got all kinds of resources and all kinds of companies trying to sell you whatever it may be to help you better your real estate business, to get more leads, or whatever the case may be. So there's a huge support system out there, and that's why we do these videos, to also be part of that support system, so we can help you on this journey to not just getting your license, but also because you're not thinking about quitting your job to get a license. You're thinking about quitting your job to go make more money, to be able to do something you enjoy more. Maybe you don't like sitting in front of a desk all day and you want to be able to get out and about. Whatever the reason may be. What we've got to now think of is, okay, who are the people that I have around me? Now, let's say you just moved here to Tampa, or you just moved to Florida, and you don't know anybody here. So you're like, oh, I don't know anybody in Florida. How am I gonna have customers if I don't know anybody here? Well, who's in your sphere of influence? And you might say, well, nobody in my sphere of influence lives in Florida. That's not what I asked. I didn't ask you who lives in Florida. I asked who's in your sphere of influence. Who's in your sphere of influence? They don't have to live in Florida for you to be of use to them. Now, ultimately, when it comes to them buying and selling real estate, we can't help them do that in other states, but maybe there's an opportunity there for maybe them also moving to Florida. Why did you move to Florida? That's my favorite question to ask people when they move to Florida. Well, why'd you move here? Well, what made you move here? And there's always, the predictable answers, whether it's weather or jobs or whatever the case may be. But there might be some reason why they want to move to Florida. Or maybe they don't want to move to Florida, but maybe they want to invest in real estate in Florida. Or maybe they have no intention in doing anything with real estate in Florida, but maybe they got a neighbor that does. Maybe they have a friend that does. So your sphere of influence, your network. And I don't like using the word network, because networking, I think networking can be perceived as a dirty word sometimes. And not for the reason you normally think when we say something is a dirty word, but because with networking, a lot of times it might not be, again, with people that could be your customers. So why this is your number one priority, this is the other point I wanted to get to today. Everything that you do in your real estate business is either to gain customers or to provide the best experience to your customers. Those are the two things that everything in your real estate business should be for. Either to get more customers or provide a better experience to your customers. There's really no need for anything else. If it doesn't help you get more customers and it doesn't help you provide a better experience, maybe it's somehow legally required or we've got to comply with legal requirements. Maybe there's some odds and ends that we've got to do to comply with legally. But other than having to comply with legal, the two things, anything for your business, that's the question you want to ask before you buy a website. Let's say you're interested in doing a website. You may be looking at do-it-yourself solutions or web developers or whatever the case may be, but you want to ask that question, is this going to help me get more customers? And now, when you ask that question, you might have the assumption that a website equals customers. A website does not equal customers. Websites do not equal customers. People on websites equal customers. But if you've got a website, if you've got a store, but nobody's in that store, nobody's going to buy anything from that store because nobody is there. People go on your website. They might buy something. But if you have a great website but you don't have people on it, then you're not going to sell any real estate from your website if no one goes on your website. So how do you get people on your website? Well, that's maybe where you're doing target marketing and advertising, or maybe pushing it out to your sphere of influence. I mean, these are really... Most advertising you do would fall into some way of target marketing. We've done tons of episodes about advertising. Well, we could talk about doing expired listings for sale by owners to try to target them. We could target first home buyers. There's all kinds of people it is you could target. But before you go out there and seeking new people, try to find some opportunities in your sphere of influence. And now, how do you go about finding those opportunities? Well, first and foremost, again, you've got to reintroduce yourself. You reintroduce yourself to your sphere of influence, and there's a lot of tools and mediums that you have to do this. You can make a simple phone call, maybe a text message, maybe an email, maybe it's a post on social media. But what you want to keep in mind is people will not always see it. Now, if you're making a phone call, you're going to know whether or not you talk to them. Maybe you leave a voicemail. Maybe they listen to it, maybe they don't. You won't really know. A text message. Maybe they read it, they probably will. Most text messages get read within, I think it's like 3 minutes. It's like 99% of text messages get read in 3 minutes. It's probably going down though because people are starting to abuse text messaging. So text messaging in probably 5-10 years will be the next email, where people don't even want, who knows what we'll be using to communicate by then. We'll probably just have telepathic communications installed in our brains or something like that. Who knows? But anyways, so a text message, they'll probably see it. An email, it depends. Now, there is software you could use to track whether people open your email, but maybe they just click on it and they see, I'm not going to read that, and they just move on. So you don't know necessarily if they saw your message. You could put it on Facebook or Instagram or Snapchat or Twitter or whatever platform it is you might be using. And really, if you're wondering, hey, while we're talking about social media, you might think, I got to get my social media set up. Well, do you have a social media already? And if the answer is no, if you've never used social media, you're now turning social media into what could have been a sphere of influence in target marketing. And the reason why is you don't have any connections yet on that social network. Now, with as many people as there are on all these social networks, if you go track them down and you have a relatively good relationship to them otherwise, then yeah, go set up like a personal Facebook. But look, as a new agent, you don't need to worry about setting up a business page. Don't waste your time doing that. Don't even worry about wasting your time on a website. Even the business card. Yes, a business card can help you get business, but look, here's a real easy trick that I always say, whether it is legitimately they don't have any business cards on me, or maybe just because I didn't even order any business cards or even take any with me because I just would rather do this instead. It's like, I don't have any cards on me. Here, what's your phone number? I'll go ahead and text you my information. Boom. Now you've got a two-way communication established rather than just giving somebody a piece of paper. Now, business cards still can be useful, but again, it's not... All this stuff can be getting around. The thing you can't get around, though, is getting customers and providing a great experience for your customers. Number one, you got to get customers. If you don't ever get customers, you'll never have a business. Let's say you get the customers though, but if you don't provide that great experience, you're not going to have a long-term sustainable business. So those are the two things. And it really all just relates back to customers. And you want to ask that question. If Zillow's calling you up and saying, hey, you want to come buy some ads? Well, yeah, that answers that first question. Maybe that helps us get more customers. But let me ask you this. Are you just using that because it's easier to swipe your credit card or just read them your credit card numbers than it is to call up all your past friends and family? You know, this is free. This is free, but it does take work. It takes sweat equity. Now you might wonder, well, what is sweat equity? What is sweat equity and why is sweat equity important? When you're starting a new business, your most important asset is your sweat equity. Your sweat equity is what makes you different than anybody else out there. Your sweat equity is what sets you apart. Other people could have money, but you could outwork them. You could always outwork them, and that's what sweat equity is. So yeah, you could just pick up the phone and call Zillow and say, hey, I'd like to pay X amount of dollars a month. How many leads will that get me? And then what happens if you've never sold anything before, if you don't know what you're doing, is you burn through these leads and you're just throwing money away for every single lead. And again, that's the reason why I don't recommend that you advertise right away. I made that mistake. Now, could you be successful advertising right away? Of course. But again, before you just start spending money on that, because when you're starting a new business, you've got to pay attention to the expenses. Now, what's ultimately way more important than the expenses is getting money coming in, because it really doesn't matter how much expenses you have as long as your income is higher than the expenses. That's the magic ratio that you've got. You just want to have income that's higher than your expenses. If you do that, you're basically a success. And the farther apart those numbers get spread, the more successful you'll be, basically, if we're using money to keep score of all this here. And even with the customer satisfaction and all that stuff, the money will keep score as well, because those customers won't come back in 5 to 7 years to buy another house. Those customers won't refer you any clients if you provided them a bad experience. So again, number one, yes, you got to get the customers, but then number two, you've got to provide a great experience to your customers. Without those two things, you don't have any real estate business. But again, the good news is it's not going to cost you to get in touch with your sphere of influence. Do you already have a cell phone or a landline phone or some sort of phone device? And if you don't, you could probably go on some sort of website and do like some sort of VoIP phone calling for free or something like that with like Google Voice or something. So look, even if you don't have a cell phone, you could connect with your sphere of influence. I mean, you could use Facebook Messenger or Instagram or again, all of, not just any one of these, but you want to have like a blitz type of strategy where they're going to see the message that you're trying to get to them. Whether that's over the phone, through a text message, through social media. And what you want to try to do here, is look for the opportunities. There might be opportunities directly through them, or it might be through, again, one of their friends or family member. For you tapping into their sphere of influence. You tap into their sphere of influence and everybody it is that they have relationships with. Because word of mouth marketing, so that's what the sphere of influence is. Word of mouth marketing is the most powerful form of advertising. It's also the most difficult to do. Regular advertising, you just write a check, you just swipe a card. Sphere of influence, word of mouth, that takes work. Stick with us, we'll be right back after this. The most powerful tool to study for your real estate exam is the Question Simulator from Tampa School of Real Estate. We've used our years of experience in preparing students for the Florida real estate exam to bring you the most powerful exam study tool available. In the Question Simulator, you'll be able to go directly to a particular unit so you can focus on the sections where you need the most practice. We have also included the percentages of each unit so you know which units are the most important for your real estate exam. Every question will immediately give you detailed feedback, which is almost always more important than the question or the answer themselves. After completing all the questions in a particular unit, you can go through question by question and review any that you've gotten wrong. You could also print out a report at the end of each quiz. The Question Simulator from Tampa School of Real Estate is 100% mobile compatible, so you can practice with test questions anywhere you have your phone with you. Enroll now at questionsimulator.com and get ready to pass your exam. State of Real Estate. Every Friday at 12 noon Eastern Time. Grow your real estate business. You're watching State of Real Estate. Hey, welcome back to this week's episode of State of Real Estate. Look, I just want to wrap this up because I don't want to go on all day because this is a really simple topic. Your customers are your most important asset of your business. And there's really ultimately, we could put everything into one of these two categories. You're either marketing to find them or you're doing more sphere of influence, which again, those are like the people you could actually reach, that you're either talking to on the phone or communicating directly throughout your daily lives, but you need to have customers. And what I recommend if you're new to real estate, if you're not new, then maybe you're ready to start advertising. You start building out an advertising plan where you pick out the type of customer it is you want to seek out. We've done episodes on target marketing. If you want to check that out, go to tampaschool.com/success and search for target marketing or just marketing, or there's tons of videos that we've got in there about this topic if you're trying to advertise to get business. But when you're starting out, hold off on the advertising. Wait, and let's see if we could find some business for free, where you just invest your time, you invest your sweat equity, you do some things to reach out to people and find opportunities, either opportunities in the people you're directly connecting to or opportunities connected to those people through their own networking. But again, that sphere of influence can be extremely powerful. Now, you usually can't rely on this for your long-term business. So at some point when you want to scale and grow your business, you'll have to probably start advertising and doing some marketing or paying somebody to do that for you. So again, you get even more leads coming in so you continue to grow your business. But this is the best starting point, I would say, for getting your real estate business off the ground. Figure out who's around you that might need something to do with real estate, because when you're new to real estate, you're probably looking everywhere you can to find business. But if you just look a little closer and you probe a little bit deeper with your sphere of influence, I bet you'll find an opportunity out there somewhere if you look hard enough. So that's why customers are your number one priority. Because again, if you don't have customers, you don't have a business. You got to, number one, get the customers, then number two, keep the customers. You do those two things, you're going to be well on your way to success. So look, that's all the time we've got for today. Thank you guys for tuning in. If you've liked today's episode, hit that thumbs up button so that way we get, because that's what we do. Literally before we do these streams, we go in and look at all of our past videos and say, okay, what do people like? What do people want to hear more of? Because we want to give you the information that you want. We want to help you achieve a successful real estate career, whatever that means for you. And if you'd rather call us and help you have a more tailored, specific approach, give us a call, 813-333-2676. We'd help you get your real estate license, get you all the tools you need to study to pass your exam on the first try. We've got a phenomenal post-licensing curriculum that's going to help teach you the business side of real estate. Or maybe you're interested in getting your broker license, and we've got programs available for that as well. So call us up, 813-333-2676, or check us out online at tampaschool.com. That's tampaschool.com. Make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss out on any of this. But other than that, that's all I got for you guys, and I'll see you next week. The most powerful tool to study for your real estate exam is the Question Simulator from Tampa School of Real Estate. We've used our years of experience in preparing students for the Florida real estate exam to bring you the most powerful exam study tool available. In the Question Simulator, you'll be able to go directly to a particular unit so you can focus on the sections where you need the most practice. We have also included the percentages of each unit so you know which units are the most important for your real estate exam. Every question will immediately give you detailed feedback, which is almost always more important than the question or the answer themselves. After completing all the questions in a particular unit, you can go through question by question and review any that you've gotten wrong. You could also print out a report at the end of each quiz. The Question Simulator from Tampa School of Real Estate is 100% mobile compatible, so you can practice with test questions anywhere you have your phone with you. Enroll now at questionsimulator.com and get ready to pass your exam. State of Real Estate. Every Friday at 12 noon Eastern Time. Grow your real estate business. You're watching State of Real Estate.